And our next guest is the Senior Crisis Manager with Amnesty International. Matthew Wells comes to us from CNN New York, and thanks for doing so. The UN Secretary-General's Special Representative on Sexual Violence in Conflict outlined these cases of gang rape, sexual humiliation, sexual slavery. She says she's going to raise it with the International Criminal Court. Should this issue end up there?
What we know is that the campaign of violence that the Myanmar military has unleashed for the better part of 3 months now has targeted all of the Rohingya population, men, women, and children, with no distinction in terms of who is a militant versus the broader population. And women in particular, as your great reporting has shown, and we ourselves have reported on, have been targeted for rape and other forms of sexual violence. I spoke with a 15-year-old girl from one village who, after watching her father be executed nearby, was dragged to a house where she and other women were raped. The soldiers then set the house on fire, and she had to bust through the bamboo siding in order to ultimately survive. And this is a story like many others that I heard when I was in Bangladesh. The atrocities that have been committed are really unlike what we've seen in any recent time.
And the thing is, we've been hearing about it for a while now. Are you surprised? Are you disgusted that it's been allowed to go on this long in terms of international action or inaction?
Yeah, what we've seen from countries around the world is condemnation, but condemnation hasn't changed what's happening on the ground. And we need to see countries, and in particular the UN Security Council, to move from condemnation to action. We need to see real consequences on the senior military officials who are orchestrating and carrying out these atrocities against the Rohingya population. In particular, we need to see a comprehensive arms embargo imposed on Myanmar, and we need to see targeted financial sanctions against senior officials who are responsible for these atrocities.
Well, we heard the U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson say that he wants an independent investigation. Not sure what he's going to learn that we don't already know. And he's spoken out against broad sanctions against Myanmar. What's your take on that?
As you say, we have a mountain of evidence from human rights organizations, from journalists, from others who have documented in detail for the last months how the Myanmar military has opened fire on Rohingya women, men, and children as they were fleeing, have carried out rape and other forms of sexual violence, and have systematically burned down Rohingya villages. In terms of an independent investigation, we need to see access for the UN fact-finding mission that's been set up to investigate this. What's clear, though, is that the Myanmar military itself cannot carry out this investigation. Just this week, they published what was clearly a whitewash in which they don't acknowledge any sort of violations carried out in the course of this campaign and deny, in fact, the consistent reporting about killing, sexual violence, and burning.
Rex Tillerson also called out the security forces for what he described as widespread atrocities. He did not go as far as to call it ethnic cleansing. There are those, some at the UN, who said that rape as an act is a weapon of genocide. When does what's happening rise to the definition of genocide, which of course then triggers action by signatories to the convention?
Well, what we know is that it already rises very clearly to the level of crimes against humanity under international law. It also rises very clearly to ethnic cleansing, as what the Myanmar military has been doing for months now is forcibly driving the Rohingya population out of the country and making it as hard as possible for them to ever be able to return. So we've already reached crimes under international law that demand international action, demand action from the UN Security Council, demand action from the countries like the U.S. and other bilateral partners of Myanmar around the world.
I have to leave it there. Matthew Wells, thank you so much. Appreciate that with Amnesty International. Thank you.
Thank you.